welcome to the June 18th meeting of the Astrophotography Group. I just noticed on my announcement I didn't change May to June on the heading. But anyway, we normally start off with questions for anybody of the experts, and so we'll do so. If there's some question that needs to be answered by some our smart people here, feel free to do so. Okay, going once. All right. Well, we'll go on to the next.
I think they know all of us, so they knew better than to ask a hard question.
Yeah. Well, he also got the Slack channel too. So, okay. Well, let's go on to the next topic, which is the presentations from Yvonne and Steve. You want to introduce her to the group? And
yes. Actually, let me share.
Do I have to give permission?
I just sent a request.
Okay.
Okay, I think you can see now. I just wanted to share, I want to share Yvonne's website. This is Off the Wall Arts, offthewallarts.org, and she's a local studio artist who's just pulls a lot of communities together. She reached out to us, the Memphis Astronomical Society, and we were pleased to be able to send her some of our work. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Yvonne Bobo from Off the Wall Arts.
Hi. Well, it's, we really enjoyed working with you all and printing out some of your amazing photography. We were just taking the show down yesterday, but we really enjoyed having it up. And I know that all the people that came to see it couldn't believe such beautiful photographs could be taken from Memphis somehow. But I think, yeah, so that was kind of funny. They're like, people took these photographs here? What? like nothing beautiful is above us, but it is. Yeah. So yeah, I think it was really great. And, you know, we would like to continue showing, you know, some of the pieces in our different shows and things, because we just think they're really fabulous. And yeah, so we hope to do more projects. People also enjoyed having the workshop where they got to look at the telescopes, you know, and I know our parking lot isn't like an ideal spot, but most of that ambient light isn't really disturbing outer space. So we really did get to see some really cool things, and it was a fun evening. So we had like two main events with you all. So we look forward to doing more stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, was Mylan there with his daytime rig where you could see the sun?
He was.
Okay.
So we started right before sunset, and then it was I'm trying to think, it was about a half of, yeah, somewhere around there. I'm trying to remember which phase of the moon we were in, you know, like maybe half. And then we were able to see the moons of Saturn. And let's see, who else showed up that night? We had like 3 different telescopes. Yeah, the daytime, evening, and then the big deep space one. Oh, what's wrong with me? I'm trying to think of his name. One of the like the ones for shooting nebulas.
J.W. Webb.
I'm trying to think of who else is meeting. Let me see.
Was it Brent?
Yeah.
Clay Folks probably was.
Clay is who it was. I was just drawing a blank. Yeah, Clay came. And,
yeah.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, you know.
Okay. So how was the art? Was the art received well?
I think so. People really, I know they liked it when some of the photographers were down there talking. You know, that was really fun for people to.
I know Adam Roach went down there, and I know Brent Ellis went down there. So.
He did. Brent and Adam were there. And
oh, good. Brent's here.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I think they just really enjoyed talking with people about what they do, and Yeah,
Mhm.
so it was really it was a good exchange. So
Okay. Were you able to sell any of the art?
we sold 2 pieces.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we didn't really recuperate our investment in the printing, but we are optimistic for so we're gonna have them at other shows, and so
Maybe next show, right?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
What have you got left?
I I could send you all the list of ones that I have left. I know that we sold Cassiopeia, and then what was the other one? I'm trying to think what the other one was. Oh, the Veil Nebula. And
Where's all the print?
what's that?
Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I can share a list of the ones that we have printed. Can I email it to you? I don't.
Can you,
Here, let me share a last issue of Meteorite,
Was that what? Oh, okay.
which is
I have the list somewhere, but probably in this file here.
okay. I'm going to share again.
And how were these printed?
We printed them on aluminum, so they're like a frameless floating. Okay, yeah.
I think Brent shot these.
Oh,
So
okay.
thank you for that, Brent. But where is it? There they are.
There they are. Yeah. Let's see. We just sell a couple.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Veil,
can you make it a little bit bigger, Steve?
and then
You try, Meryl.
this one here. That one's Cassiopeia. Well, you can't see my finger as I point to things, but
It's
So
jumping
how much
into-
you selling them for?
different prices. We just kind of, depends on how much they cost to print, and then we try to add some to it. I can send you the whole list. I have it in a file. And then I can send you the list if you want to.
Sure. You
Yeah.
should do that. We have
Okay.
you have a special interest group here that might.
Yeah. And I love it on the aluminum because it has it's a matte finish, so you don't get all that reflection when you're like really kind of looking into it. And then I think it also gives you like more depth, and the colors are good. Yeah, this is one that we bought.
Here are the ones we sent her. These are the high res files.
Right.
And
we did that one. Yeah.
That's Devin he's a Canadian, but we like him anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we printed this one.
This is our young astrophotographer, Adam Roach.
That's Adam. Yeah, we printed this one also.
He came out and he just seemed to fit right in, I hear.
Yeah, he loved it. I think he didn't know that there were so many weirdos in Midtown. He kind of liked it. Yeah. I was like, where did you think we all were? No.
Yeah. Yes.
What was the first one?
The first one was
The
this
Veil.
was our group.
You still have that one?
Yeah.
No, this is one of the ones that we sold, actually.
Yeah. That is just yeah. I
That's
mean,
the one I wanted.
Oh no.
Print picture another one.
Yeah.
But Yvonne can tell you where to print them, Rick.
Well, no,
yeah,
I'm
I can.
going to try to help her
Absolutely.
recover some of her money. So
Okay, well,
I'll
let
see
me run
what else
through
you
here.
got.
So this is one of the best,
Yeah.
Andromedas I've ever seen.
It's really beautiful. Yeah.
That's John's work, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
What is that?
John, what is this one? Is John?
He's muted.
Oh, okay. It's
That's
like,
the WR-134. It's a Wolf-Rayet star. Basically, it's a supernova explosion there in the center.
yeah,
of the moon.
right here. Okay.
So is that a solar wind that's causing that? Where's the central star?
Center star is hard to see, and there's a lot more blue there that I got to dig out. That's only 85 hours.
Okay.
I got
Alright.
probably another 85 hours to put to it to bring it back.
Would it be
bring
about
farther
here?
out.
Would it be about here, John?
Yeah, pretty much in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
look at the
gotcha.
dot to the.
Cool.
It could
So-
be.
Picture.
I have a question. So when you're talking about all these hours, so it's like you're shooting different layers of it and adding colors? Like, how do you, what are you doing with all, are these,
We're doing it with filters.
right? Okay.
And everything's exposure. So John, it's like a red, green, blue filter, then maybe a hydrogen alpha. And what else did you use?
But this one here is basically just my Antlia filter, which was hydrogen alpha oxygen 3 filter. And these were 10-minute exposures that I had stacked to get a total of 85 hours.
Yeah. So by hours, we mean like he might have done like a 3-minute exposure and he has so many hundreds of these that you run it through software. And when you stack it, more detail pops out every stack that occurs.
Right.
And it only,
Software, here's the trick. Back in the day, we used to take hours-long pictures on film, but tracking and keeping all of the parts of the image in the same place on the film is nearly impossible.
that's
And
right.
the best you could ever do was not this good. Well, sometimes they were. But what we can do now digitally is take short exposures and let the software compensate for all that. Put all the stars on top of all the stars, and now you've got the effect of a 2 or 3 hour long exposure without all of the possible errors that come in tracking, trying to keep it centered.
Like the misalignment, if
in
it
the
just
frame.
if it's just a little off, then the things don't line up.
Oh,
And
it gets messy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every image is off, and it goes through a process called registering. And what it does is it analyzes all the stars in the image and just pushes them all in the same location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, this one here, these were actually 15-minute exposures, and I have 341 of them.
and how long did it take for the registering and stacking to occur, John?
I think this one's like 4 or 5 hours. I think.
Yeah. So you turn the computer on, you set it all up, and you push a button, and 4 or 5 hours later, you get something pretty nasty. Doesn't look nearly this good. It's going to be really dark, and
Right.
then he's going to stretch it, and use all sorts of techniques to get rid of noise and improve star color and alignment. So, and how long does that take you, John? Just when everything's stacked, something like this image here, it's a few hours also, isn't it?
About an hour.
Yeah.
If I take my time, maybe that. But this was also shot over 26 nights.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how, I mean, the blue in the middle area is really, really faint. So it took 26 nights of 15-minute exposure to bring that out.
Yeah.
And I'm still not done with it. I think I can go a whole lot more on it. So
Yeah.
if it ever gets clear around here, I'm maybe gonna start back to bottom.
Well,
Yeah, our
and
problem is not light pollution, Yvonne. It is
Clouds.
We can deal with that with filters.
Right.
Our main problem is clouds. Yeah,
Yeah. You can't see through clouds. I get it.
that's
Yeah.
right.
so and to the point of science versus artistry, you need to understand a lot of this is artistry. We're
Mhm.
collecting data, but how we show that data, how we which colors we emphasize over others, a lot of this is not in the visible light range anyway. You couldn't see it with the human eye mostly anyhow.
Right.
So a lot of it is art.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of my favorites. I like this one a lot.
So, Meryl, what
Yeah.
filters did you use on this one?
It's SHO, and it's probably my memory is like 40 hours worth of total time.
Yeah.
But I do 5-minute exposures on things like that.
So what he means, Yvonne, by SHO is sulfur. So
Mhm.
he has a filter on there that only allows sulfur emitted light to get into the sensor.
Okay.
Then the H is hydrogen, and the O is oxygen.
Right.
Now, Meryl, my question to you is, what palette did you use? Do you remember?
I think the palette.
Okay. So he would combine all these with a certain palette, and it'd interpret
That was a joke, Steve.
Oh, what did you say? I didn't hear you. That's why I didn't.
I
Yeah.
said
I caught it.
the It's probably a modified Hubble. I mean, that's kind of,
Okay.
but I mean, I said
The
MM.
Merrill palette.
Yeah.
The Merrill Miller palette. Okay.
Yeah, the MM palette.
I just played around with it until it started looking good. I said, I think I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, where would the blue come from, Merrill? Which filter do you think brought that in?
Probably O.
Yeah. And
Which is
then,
oxygen, by the way.
Oxygen. Sorry,
yeah.
oxygen.
Okay. So, and then RGB, we don't take a whole lot of
Oh,
RGB.
normal people don't understand what we mean when we talk about oxygen light or
Mhm.
sulfur light.
I'm one of those normal people, Rick. I have no idea what it means. So please inform us.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's the light that is, did you ever, when you were in school, did you do chemistry? If you did any chemistry, at least in
course.
high school, you'd get a little bit of a like copper powder or something on the end of a little wire with a loop in the end of it, and you'd hold that over a Bunsen burner, and the flame would turn green for copper, right?
Right.
And well, that's essentially what this amounts to, right? So when these molecules become energized by some radiation, the electrons jump into outer shells and then fall back down um, into their normal shell, in their normal state, their low energy state, and they give off light of a certain color. And those colors, this is how it's a spectrum of light. It's how we know what we know about the cosmos. It's how we know what stars are made of.
Wow.
It's how we know what chemical elements are in that cloud of gases and dust. It's by the colors that that those molecules give off. They either give it off or they absorb it from sources behind them, and that's where all the color comes from in these things. So we have filters that are designed to limit all but these particular narrow bands of light frequencies, and that's oxygen, hydrogen alpha, um, sulfur. There's a bunch of them. Most common ones, and then of course it's just red, blue, and green, which is typical colors that the eye sees. It's how we look at it's how TVs become color. It's how everything else becomes color. Red, blue, and green. You mix those, you can come up with just about every color there is. And then these others bring out these other specific gases that you don't normally see. And that's where the real art and science comes in here, is by those narrowband filters.
Mm-hmm. And here's another exploding star. I think Merrill did this one a long time ago.
Long time ago.
And
Yeah.
I think this is one of Brent's. This is you can actually see this one in Memphis with your naked eye, the Great Orion Nebula, if you're familiar at all with
Sure.
so the three belt stars of Orion, if you follow the left one down, you'll see this nebula. It's just a little cloud.
Hmm.
And then this is what happens if you take
Five tiny stars in the middle called the trapezium that light up, and that's a reflection nebula. Most of that's a reflection nebula. Those stars are really hot, bright stars, and they're lighting up that cloud of gases and dust. And I got to tell you, this is one of the most detailed. See, that much detail and figure in that cloud is unusual. This was Brent.
Yeah, Brent did Brent, how many hours is this? You usually get a
So
lot.
yeah, this was about 4 hours with a color camera. So I've since moved to mono, but this was back with my color camera.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well done. Nice.
Yeah. So do you think
Really
it would be better if you got 20 hours,
Well, sure.
Brent?
Probably.
Okay.
I can't invest 80 hours or even 20 hours in a target, but
Yeah.
yeah, more data generally equals better, but
Yeah.
I can sometimes get to a happy spot where I'm like, I'll move on to the next target.
Well, it's like Rick says, there's a lot of nice data here.
It has to do with signal to noise ratio. When you start to
Right.
get on the flat part of the curve, that uses
Yeah.
And this is a close-up. I think Merrill did this one of
Eagle. It's
the
the
Eagle Nebula, and,
Yep.
and this is the
pillars of creation.
Pillars of Creation.
Pillars, yeah, that's one of the ones. Yeah.
There was a famous Hubble image done of those.
And Merrill's is better than Hubble's.
Oh yeah, right.
well, maybe not. Okay, but it looks pretty darn good.
That's a HO, I believe, is what
Yeah.
hydrogen and oxygen.
And the Eagle Nebula is coming back if we want to shoot that one. And this one was one of mine. This was colliding galaxies.
Wow.
I forget what this is. M what, Brent?
51.
51.
51. Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay. You just said something there. But are they really colliding? Rick, I thought you said some point.
I think they're not. I think one of them is much closer to us than the other one. They're just coincidental in view.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I was told they were colliding.
I remember
There are some
saying that.
colliding ones out there, but I don't think this one is actually.
Okay, cool. And Merrill, is this one of yours?
Yes.
What is this one?
It's it'll be in 471. I think it's a Wolf Rayet star too, but
Mm-hmm.
again SHO and just happen to like it.
Interesting colors. Very artistic, wouldn't you say, Yvonne?
I do. Another one of my favorites too. Yeah, I do like the color scheme. I love lots of, so many of these, but yeah, the colors are really beautiful.
We like the color palette, Merrill.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, the MM should be, it's official. Yeah, it's really
And let's see, here's some here that a few others. This is the Soul Nebula. John
Yes.
Holderman did this one, which is
Correct.
look at that. How many hours is
Beautiful.
this one, John?
That one, I think it's 8 hours.
Wow. Okay.
It's actually part of the bigger mosaic. I just cut out the soul nebula out of the 6-panel mosaic.
Okay.
So
Is the
why
heart
is
in that particular mosaic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a heart and soul nebula, and I just cut this out. And this was 6 panels combined for everything, and each panel was 8 hours.
Okay.
Why is it called Soul? I never knew why.
I mean, it looks like a pig upside down or a buffalo upside down.
I've heard it as the Buffalo Nebula. The Heart Nebula looks like the Heart Nebula.
Yeah, it does look like the heart.
And this is right next to it. And there's this song you learn to play on the piano called
Oh yeah, heart.
Heart and Soul.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I suspect it has something to do with that. And this is the Ghost of Cassiopeia.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that we sold. Yeah.
And this is the bright star in that there's a constellation called Cassiopeia. And it looks like a W. Sometimes a year it looks like an M on others. And this is one of the bright stars of it.
And that nebula is there.
And that nebula is there. It's very faint.
30
When
years
these
I've been
stubs-
looking at
I
that
took-
constellation, and I never knew there was a nebula there.
Yeah. So Rick, when I was taking these subs, I was taking 5-minute exposures, and I could not see this thing at all in those exposures.
Yeah.
And I took a ton of them. I trusted the system, and I stacked probably I don't know how many hundreds of images, and this started coming out.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And it's still faint. I mean,
It's so hard to get
it's
the detail
ghostly
out of that one.
looking.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Wow.
And this is the Bell Nebula. I think this is one of Brent's.
Yes.
And I mean, this is just really sharp, crisp, and interesting.
But that's not RGB. What'd you do it with, Brent?
That one's HOO.
Yeah, that looks like it. Yeah.
And Yvonne, that picture we showed you at the beginning. Let me go find it. This Fleming's triangle.
Oh, the Fleming's triangle. That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to show
You know what? Maybe I'm trying to think if we sold. Rick was interested in Fleming's triangle. Maybe we did not sell that one. We sold the Veil Nebula.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, that Fleming triangle is this part right here.
Oh, it's that section right
Oh,
Yeah.
there.
I didn't realize that. How cool.
So this is a exploding star that obviously was somewhere around here.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's explode. Rick, is it an exploding star? Or did it just eject a lot of gases? I mean,
Well, that's typically referred to as exploding.
okay, I guess so.
Yeah,
I guess it's-
it's a big supernova remnant, so it's basically the remnants of the actual star.
so there's a pretty big catastrophic explosion here.
So it's all about the rate. How fast does it do it?
Oh, is that true, Don? Okay. Anyways, I think that's all the images.
And I have a question. Once these stars explode or whatever, but like, does matter just seems to stay in a formation? Is there just not that many
No,
forces, or
no.
did it disappear, or what?
No, so when a star novas or supernovas, depending on the mass of the star, when it happens, it'll blow off its outer shells. Our star will nova, it will not supernova, our sun.
Right.
It's not big enough to supernova, but it will become as big as the orbit of Jupiter. All right, but before our sun finally dies, it'll become as the outer shell will extend out to about Jupiter. At that point, when it finally runs out of nuclear fuel, what's left of the core of that star will collapse quickly. Pop. That collapse generates a rebounding force that'll push out what's left of the gas and stuff, and it'll go, and that will push a big wind out that'll push out all this outer shell that was already out to Jupiter, will keep going and pretty fast for a while. It'll slow down.
That's not our sun. Our sun is not going to do that. Our sun will become a white dwarf, just a blob of carbon.
So it won't, okay, well, all right.
But it
So
will
there you go.
expand when it becomes a planetary nebula. It will expand out to about Jupiter or so, but there will be no collapse of the core and rebound effect. That's a supernova you're talking about.
Okay. I thought there was some. All right, cool.
It'll still be very dramatic, though. Let's
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
that way.
We won't be around for that.
We
though.
won't be around though. Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that.
So
yeah. But I
if
guess
it's
to the
like-
question, all these things are they're still moving fast, but they're so insanely huge that you can't really tell
Oh yeah.
that they're
right.
still moving that fast. Like they're just so big in the sky.
Yeah, they're so
It's
far
almost
away.
impossible to imagine.
Right.
Now, Anne, is there some planetary nebula that just kind of expels gas? It's not a true explosion like the
Well,
ring.
that's what she said the sun's going to do.
Yeah, a planetary nebula is just a very gentle sloughing of the outer layers of a star as it's dying. And that's
Okay,
what
is
our
it-
sun will do.
Is the ring nebula an example of that?
Yeah, the ring nebula is a planetary nebula, all the smaller ones. But I
Okay.
think what you're looking,
Ring, all that series. Yeah.
what are we looking at on the screen here?
This is the Veil Nebula.
The Veil Nebula is a supernova remnant, so a massive star that did what
Oh,
Rick
yeah.
was describing. The core collapses and everything bounces off and makes a big explosion.
Right.
The
And
Crab
M1
Nebula is another example of a
yeah,
supernova.
M1 Crab is another supernova, right? I mean,
So can a supernova result in a white dwarf, or do those
No,
all
no.
go to
After the
neutrons?
supernova explosion, you're either left with a neutron star, which if we detect it as a pulsar, or
Or
you're
a
left
black
with a
hole.
black hole.
Yeah. Okay.
you know, I
Alright.
think there's a neutron star in the middle of this mess.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. I know the Crab Nebula, there's definitely a neutron star because we hear that pulsar.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that's where gold comes from. Neutron stars. When neutron stars merge.
Okay.
We need to go. We need to go to one of those things and mine that, right?
Someone I was listening. So there's a recent paper that came out that doesn't account for all the gold, and they're thinking that magnetars, which is a neutron star with that's spinning very fast with very high magnetic fields can burp gold. And
Cool.
that should make up some more of it. But what they said was the most recent gravity wave detection of the two neutron stars that they detected, they knew where it was at. They looked at it. They see the gold there. They estimate 3 Earth masses of gold.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
3 Earth masses.
That would send gold per ounce down to like a cent.
Yeah, that would tend to drive the price
Gotcha.
down.
I was going to ask Ann. I hope Ann is still here.
Sure.
Yes,
Are,
I'm here.
are these stars here being formed right now? Like they're being formed, right?
Yeah, I've heard that the trapezium, those are very young stars, and so some of them are very bright, and that's why there's so much light scattering off the dust in the Orion Nebula.
Right.
Yeah, it's referred to often as a stellar nursery.
Yeah, there's so much material there. I'm not surprised that lots of stars are probably forming.
Yeah. So
Cosmically busy.
we're showing both sides of the spectrum. Stars are born and stars die through explosions and things like that. Anyway.
This
Okay.
Orion Nebula is beautiful. That one has so much
It
detail.
was, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much detail in that cloud structure.
Yeah, it is. It's a good one. And Brent, you said you only had like 4 hours on this, right?
So, but it's 10-minute exposures with one of the narrowband filters.
Yeah, okay. Probably HA, right?
Yeah, it was the Optilong L Enhance.
Okay, so that would be that's primarily HA, and there's some O3 in that. O2, is that O2 or O3, Rick? I forget. All right.
All right. Gonna close down your share. There you go.
Okay.
We have our resident expert.
Send me the list, Yvonne.
Yes, I will. I will send you the list.
Those were all winners, weren't they, Rick?
Oh, yeah.
It's all good stuff. And
Okay.
Yvonne, thanks a lot for showing up and sharing the experience.
Like I said, we're looking forward to doing more collaborations. So.
All right, let's do it.
Woohoo.
Also, make sure you let me know what the size and the price.
Yeah, I'll have all of that, and I'll send it. Steve, I'll just send it to you, and you share it with everybody.
I'll
I will.
take care of getting it distributed.
Yeah, I'll put it in the Slack channel.
Okay, great, super. I'll do that tomorrow.
We'll get it in the newsletter.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to move on? John has prepared a presentation on the customizable WBPP, and it's going to be a good presentation, right, John?
I hope so.
Just a couple of slides, right?
No
Yeah,
pressure.
That sounds like a threat, Merrill.
No, he always
He does.
you'll see.
John always comes through.
He always does. So should be able to share. There you go. This, if you remember, a couple 3 months ago, John put the YouTube video of this, and whenever you do that, you get asked to make a presentation.
Yeah.
I like your title.
Yeah, I was going to use this whole theme until the clouds moving because it's been cloudy for God knows how long for the whole presentation, but it didn't
I can
work
tell you
out too
exactly
well.
how long, 2 months solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Special
left
edit.
it. So the title one and the very end one is basically look cloud like this. I had to change the whole format a few days ago to get rid of all that because it was like not working properly. So it's basically a add-on for the WBPP, which is weighted batch preprocessor. It's a script that's in Pixinsight that does all your heavy lifting of your image calibrations, registrations, all that fun stuff, and spits out a final image for you to start working. So now from here, we're going to see if we can make it bark like a seal. So yeah, it was fade away. It's like, come on, baby. So
Like my
basically, it's
images
just,
at night.
yeah, so it's
shut
basically
up now.
this lady, she is the quote space koala. Her name is Luca. She's the one that came up with this along with Roberto them two actually wrote a JavaScript to interface in with the weighted batch processing preprocessor script. And she basically called it the no-code pipeline builder, because when you look at her presentation, I mean, she goes through a lot more detail of how she came up with it, what you want to do, and then she kept on further developing more and more to the point where it's okay, why don't we can do it with hardly any code? So you're not going to go write a bunch of code or anything. Makes life easy. So basically, no-code pipeline builder is an extension for WBPP that enables fully customizable pipeline execution using a process container object. And the extension allows users to define the complete pipeline through standard Pixinsight process container. So it acts like a programmable execution list. Each process inside the container is dynamically assigned a pipeline stage. So the pipeline builder is designed for users who want to extend WBPP without coding. So it leverages the key value metadata tags to define when and what you want to do, to your groups without having to edit a lot of the core logic out of the WBPP. This method offers full control over the execution order and group targeting while making the pipeline fully visible and editable using Pixinsight graphical tools. So how it works, the user creates a process container instance, and then inside that process container, you will put any number of processes that you can add, or what you want to really try to do, and then you're going to basically give it a step tag. So it will only be executed if the step tag is present, or the parent above it has it, and the one you put below it doesn't have it. It'll still follow what the parent had at that time. And each element must declare its intent through the step tag and optional filtering metadata like cam, filter, binning. So it's pretty customizable. And any other user defined keywords that you want to use. Once happy with the process, the user saves the process container instance, and basically you drag the triangle off, and you're going to rename that little process container just dragged off as WBPP. That's one of the key things that she wrote in her script to pick up that to be able to interface in with it. So key concepts of the no-code pipeline builder, you got processes are applied only if their declared step matches the current WBPP pipeline stage. Each process is applied only to groups that match all declared metadata keys. Steps and metadata can be inherited from the container they are placed in, overriding its support. So when you go to create it, you're going to name it WBPP on your process container. You'll insert child processes or nested process containers. So you can actually add another process container within it. You're going to add metadata to define steps and filtering logic. Use the description field for the key equal value tags. And so an example, you're going to step equals on post process end. And she's got here comma camera equals ASI 183 mm will apply only to groups with that camera in the final step there. So you got the available step tags. I think there's 7 of them. So you got the on calibration end. So after calibration on the pre-groups with active calibration, then anything when that calibration ends, it'll start doing anything with this calibration end tag. You got on pre-process end, which always calls at the very end of the pre-block. On post-process start, it's always called before the post-block starts. On registration start, if registration is enabled, so if you don't have registration enabled, it gets skipped. Same thing, if you don't have any calibration frames like that, the calibration end stuff will get skipped with them. And you have on registration end, when registration finishes, it'll start doing whatever you want at that point. Then you have on integration start, so before the integration actually starts, it'll do whatever you want to all your subframes, and then it'll start integrating after. And you have on post processing end, and that's always called at the very end, so it applies on the master files. So basically everything you get done, when it gets down to the very end and spit out a master file, then it will start doing all this other stuff that you have to find if you have to find anything. You have a key value filtering, which I didn't use, but she did. So that's where you get added it into the step. So you can, if you're using 2 or 3 different cameras and you want to do different processing on them, you can do the camera equals ASI 183M, maybe you also did a color version of it that you want to do a separate process on. So you can specify ASI 183MC, for those camera tabs. And then also you can put in night with one that if you got any tags like that within your data. So the process will be applied only to groups that satisfy all specific conditions. So if it doesn't match everything that you want, it will skip it. If it matches all of it, it'll do it. Hierarchy and inheritance. So keys declared in a process container apply to all children unless overridden. So multiple keys must be comma separated in a single line. So step equals on integration start, comma cam equals ASI 183 MF. So if those match those two keys, then it will actually start processing those images. The same key appears again deeper in the structure. The inner value takes precedence. So that'd be cam equals 180, ASI 183. This makes it easy to apply the same filter to multiple operations while retaining flexibility for exceptions. So here's an example. So here's your process container. Her whole story behind the thing was she wanted to resample all her pictures because the camera she was using was producing like 100 meg images for each individual subframe. So every time she took a picture, the camera was like 100 meg. So she wanted to resample it back down to a lot bigger, a lot smaller size, so she had more less size data to deal with, less space to worry about. So that's why she did an integer resample. So she's shrinking her images down. And then she's got another process container. After that, what does she'll do a blur X, a noise X, and then she's got a little script. I think that one was for just doing a stretch on it, which I had a question about the 2.3, but you'll see. So an example of WBPP process container, find mobile says filtering. So she's got process containers WBPP. That's what the name of the container is. And then you got integer resample on that was on step equals on calibration end. So when the calibration ends, all her images will get resampled to a smaller size. And then you have a process container that was right below that, and the steps are performed on the masters because it's step to step on post process end. And then anything in that container, which is what you'll see listed below, which is 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. The blur exterminator will inherit from that parent container along with noise X. And then she's got a script in this case to do an auto stretch, inherits step from the parent. So since they were all for post processing in those three steps, they're not specifically defined as it, but since they'll inherit from the container they're in, they'll get all that post processing. So this will apply resampling on every single sub after the calibration step is finished. Then it will apply blur X, noise X, and auto stretch in every master frame generated. So use cases, just some examples of practical applications, apply a series of basic processing steps to the final stack to get the first idea of the quality of the obtained data and have a quick look. So you can have it set to do a couple basic steps, and then so when you go to look at the master image, you don't have to go worry about trying, I'm gonna go do this, this, and this. It's already done for you, just to give it an idea of how it's gonna look, if it's worth continuing or not. And you can downsample calibrated frames. That's applying the integer resample. You can apply a linear automatic background extraction on the calibrated images prior to registering. You got limitations. It must be executed within the process container WBPP present in the workspace. If it doesn't there, it won't do none of it. So if you have a WBPP container and you create a WBPP1, the WBPP1 will not be used at all. It's only going to be within that, or only one of WBPP. The step name is invalid or mistyped. The operation is silently skipped. Script only has been tested with a subset of Pixinsight processes. Some processes may have unexpected results. So you might want to get, the biggest thing is you got to look at if the process you want to use, if it's going to generate other pictures and graphs and stuff, you want to make sure you turn all this stuff off. Otherwise, you might have a bunch of other crap you don't want. Down here to overriding the target image. If you processes that have an option of generating a new image or overriding the target image should be used with later configurations. You really want to override the target image. You don't want to sit there and have because when it does, you'll have a set of master files just like if you did WBPP without anything. And it's going to create a new set of master files that does everything too. So if you've done blur X on it, and if you've done, let me do this, this, and this, and then they got to override the image, that'll be in a separate folder. And there's no graphical UIs provided yet for defining the key value structure. and does not support conditional branching or complex logic, only filtering. And the one I had a problem with was scripts cannot be included in the container because Pixinsight does not allow script instrumentation or in that execution content. Only standard process icons are supported. But yes, she had a script in hers to do auto stretch. So it's kind of like, what's the deal? She got further along or what? So you want to configure the pipeline builder to run. You got to update your repository. So left side real quick is to go to updates, manage repository. You're going to put in her repository, and you're going to click add in the URL, click OK. It's going to add it in. You got to go to update, check for updates. It's going to do the updates. It'll find updates. It'll download them. You'll have to restart. It'll apply all those. Then what you got to do, so once you get done, go into weighted batch pre-processing. You've got your WBPP stuff done. You'll go into the tab for pipeline. You're going to go to the bottom middle right side where you're going to check the box for pipeline builder. You're going to click with a folder. You're going to go to the scripts folder underneath Pixinsight, which is under the program file Pixinsight SCR scripts. And there is the space koala will get created there. There's a folder there. Underneath that is her JavaScript for no code pipeline builder. And you'll add that in that little spot right there. So on the left side, where steps show in the pipeline, you'll see what that is. I created the WBPP container, and I just dragged in the pixel math, just a random thing, and I put a tag for each of the 7 things. And so when you look, you'll see custom on pre-process in steps. You'll see pre-processing. There's a pixel map. And then you got a couple down below. But you only notice there's only 6 here because that's when I figured out that, well, I don't have any calibration frames in the list I put in. So it ignored that. So it doesn't show up at all. If there was calibration frame to do, so at the end of your calibration, it would have did a pixel math step and then moved farther down and kept going. So that's more of a true example on the right-hand side. This is one of the things I was working on for my M101 for my little scope, and I've got 659 images, but actually I got almost 1,000 images now, but I had culled them pretty heavily. And then I put in to where I do a BlurX on the pre-processing end. I wanted to do a BlurX to do a correct only on the stars to see if I can get any more frames to keep instead of being rejected out. And then I tried like an automatic background extractor after the registration starts. It'll do an automatic background extractor on each one of those as it goes. And then at the very end, I did a post-processing and I did a BlurX and a NoiseX on the image. You'll see that 0 got rejected. I got 659. These are all like 2 minute images. But you'll see I've got, this took 13 hours, 32 minutes, and 7 seconds, where it normally took like 20 minutes. So it's going to increase the time. The more you do in here and play with this, what you got processes going, it's going to increase the time to do this execution. So normal here, this is a little tested run I did of 37 frames. This was from our lovely crappy data for the past couple of months. I forgot which one this one. I think this was the Sunflower Galaxy off my big scope. And it was during that time where you had the lovely smoke crap come out of Canada and you had the dust and stuff eking its way in from Africa and all that. So our skies, even though they were clear, they were kind of muddy. So I took 37 frames, measured them, 0 rejected. He goes to register them, 30 of them failed. So I ended up with 7. Local normalization, it does, it kicked another one out. So at the very end, out of 37 frames, I only got 6 of them that were made it. So I figured I'm going to do a test on this one, see if I can do a BlurX after the registration or before the registration, see if I can correct the stars and see if I can recover any more frames, maybe they'll make it through. So this took 20 minutes, 50 seconds. This is the results of what it looked like. So this is luckily 20 minutes of the Sunflower Galaxy. And this is no calibration frames and no other processing really at the end. This is what it just spit out. So now I did process container, put BlurX in there. You see BlurX in there 3 times and I got a NoiseX in there. So the first BlurX, you'll see is step equals on registration start. And then the next BlurX is on is at the very end. So the first one does a correct only, second one does a default BlurX, then I do a default NoiseX, and then I do a sharpened BlurX. So 2, 3, and 4 are post-imaging, post-processing in. And the first one is just to correct them at the on registration start. So this took an hour and 49 minutes, up from 20 minutes. So I had 37 go, 0 rejected, got the registration, 21 failed. So I had 16 finally registered instead of just 7. And everything else went down. So I ended up with 16 total that got registered and integrated. And then you'll see at the very end, custom on post-processing in steps, you'll see this is where I did the blur extender, noise X, and then the other blur extender. And this is on the 2 frames, which is your since I did the drizzle, 2x drizzle on it. So you'll end up with 2 masters. You'll have a standard master, and you have the 2x drizzle master. So it basically did blurs on both of those, did noise X on both of those, then did blur X again on both of those. And it creates a separate folder for those. So when you're wherever you're outputting your data to, I have a default location I use all the time. And so underneath there, you'll see your log, your debug, and then you see on registration start. This folder here got created when that process started to do the correct only on those 37. Then you'll see the master, then on post processing in, you'll see under here, you'll see another pair of master file, which is what post processing step done. So you still have your original master, but the original master will have the correct only done in it. But the last 3 steps will be on the post processing. So basically, this is the regular master that spit out, and then this is one where it did the blur X and the other noise X at the end. So you can see, I mean, still no calibration frames. So I haven't done none of that. It's just basically you see what spits out. So you can see on the right side was the original run with only 6 that made it in 20 minutes, and the left side is with the blur X correct only and a few other steps to make. So an hour and 49 minutes. So it's a big increase because even though it was only 37 frames, these are the bigger ones. So the APS-C size sensor. This is off the Poseidon C. So at least got a few more. So I was looking at this way. Maybe I can, when you get if you got a slight wind, you get a little bit of eggy shaped stars, and maybe they get dropped out when you're doing I want only the best, samples to get registered and processed. Maybe you can recover some of those that are slightly eggy. If it doesn't take it, maybe the blur X correct only could help salvage some of those. That's the reason why I did this a little more of an example here. So you got left to right. That's the original. Then you have the middle that recovered some of the one. Then the third one, which is like with the little post-processing stuff. The references, this is her website, spacecola.com, and she's got a Pixinsight spot there. And that's where you can get her Pixinsight repository link. You'll add that in. That's her YouTube channel there. And she just did a big presentation to the Astro Imaging channel on June 8th. And that's a link to that video there. It's a little over an hour. And that's where she'll go in and really delve into why she did it, what all sparked it, how she came along about the whole process and everything, and how she ended up down here to basically with the no script of that. Before we get to the question.
So do you recommend us pursuing this as on our work?
I mean, I would. I would probably look at it as being more of a curiosity. You want to play with it, see what it can do, and it will help your data a little bit. I'm not trying to do a full blown, here's your final image, spit it out and you're done, which you could do it with this if you have all your steps laid out. You can put it in on the post processing stuff. I really want to get back to one little spot here. So when you are here on registration start, I think I cut it off. There's actually little buttons in the bottom right corner. So what you do is you'll highlight your process you want. There's a little button I think I got cut off down there. Maybe I'll bring up Pixinsight. And that's where you'll put that step tag in. Me and my computer had a fight. I won, so I have a whole new computer here running. So. Okay.
There's more than one way to interpret that.
Well, I have an NVMe drive that started acting up apparently with the motherboard it was on my AMD one, and it kept on giving me start error. So it would come up and give me a black screen of I'm not booting up, inaccessible boot device, and this and that, and whatever. And then next thing you know, both NVMe drives disappeared, and I fought with that for months. And then I bought a brand new motherboard, had the same issue. I wasn't happy about that. So I ended up with I've got another workstation here. So behind me on my left is my 7810. And down below me, I have a 5820 now. And I put my NVMe drives in there, and I imaged it over to a regular SATA drive, 1 terabyte SATA drive to boot off of, and it boots up 5. I mean, I've tried other things, and I was actually running a little mini PC for a little bit. Process can take that. Yeah, so on your process container, a couple things. So if where you want to mark this at, you'll hit edit description, and you're going to put a step on whichever step you want to put in. So you can put like step on registration start. And click commit. And it'll add that description in. And this is so when that step comes along before it does registration, it'll do a gradient correction on all those. So whatever list you got. So if I've got 100 subframes ready to be registered, as it starts registration on it, it's going to do a gradient correction on each one of those, and it will register all those. Maybe I want to do a dynamic background extraction at the very end, which is post-processing end. So step equals on post-process end. You just basically select it, go down here in description, and type in.
So John, I got a question. I might have missed this in your presentation. What starts you down this road in the first place?
Merrill. For the present,
Well, no, what is this? Is all of this just to take more control of WBPP and make it do things it normally doesn't do? Because
Yes.
okay, I was wondering what the motivation was to do all this. Because right now I load all my stuff in, then I call Steve and say, "Hey, Steve, zoom in and show me how my stuff goes." And I hit start, and I go to bed and let it run overnight. Yep, in the morning I got some stuff.
John, what was the reason for your rejections, do you think? I mean, just stars?
It's crap. I mean, when you look at the data, some of them are like double stars, some of them are just like really long streaks. And I was looking at the guiding on my big scope, which is using the EQ6.
Right.
And I think I stressed the cable that's got plugged in to go into the PC. And it's got a RJ45 connector at the end where it plugs into an adapter from RJ45 to the 9-pin adapter for the EQ6.
Right.
And when I was putting on the do ring, I had noticed when I got done with all that, I noticed that the way the line was running, it was up and over and back, and it was stretched pretty taut. So I may have actually pulled a little bit on the RJ45 connector. I haven't looked at it yet, because that night when I started imaging, guiding was a nightmare. I mean, it wasn't nice and smooth. Oh, let's do this. I mean, this thing was jumping all around like it was like somebody had been out there shaking it, like it was going through an earthquake. That's what it looked like. And it fought and fought through it. And I finally went after and kind of pushed stuff in, but it didn't really help at all. Whereas my little AM3 was like nice, it's nice and smooth. So I'm like, well, it's also a smaller scope. So I figured maybe the wind was a little bit or something and stuff like that. But I think I may have stressed the cable. So I might have to cut the end of it off and re-put a new end on it.
Yeah. So to answer Keith's question, Keith, what this can do is if I saw some stars that some frames that I thought were just a little bit off, and I noticed that the WBPP rejected them, I would run them through BlurX just to get that data so that they would come back. And that's what John did in
Yeah.
the context of WBPP. I used to do that as a pre-process before I even sent it to WBPP, just because what I learned from my mentor, Merrill, is you have data, don't lose any of it.
Yeah. Well,
figure out a way if you can to
her,
use every
yeah,
bit of data you can.
yeah, her video showed up on my feed from YouTube, so I went and looked at it, and that's why I posted that one out in the Slack channel. I watched it, and it got me curious because her whole objective was that when she was using her full frame camera, I mean, it's like 100 meg video, 100 meg file, and she had to point the downsample it down to something more manageable size wise. And so she was looking at ways she could do that and try to get it automated so she didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Okay, so
And that's how she ended up writing
would not do that
Right.
as one of the check boxes or tick boxes in WBPP. You'd have to do it later. So what she's doing is she's pulling in processes from other parts of Pixinsight into WBPP.
Right. So that's where those 7 little step tags are at, to where we're at in the execution list for WBP is what you want to do. So when you look at the steps.
Right. So the whole motivation of this is so you don't have to go back manually and either downsize or run BlurX or
right. I mean,
run whatever. You could even annotate during WBP if you wanted to. So
right. Her biggest motivation.
You could do any of the processes in Pixinsight.
Right. Well, almost. I mean, that she hasn't tested every one of the processes yet. That's one.
Right. And I understand that. Yeah, I picked that up as undefined behavior. She doesn't. There's that, which I guess.
So she wanted
is
down
fair,
sample,
but she's got a bunch of them.
Yeah, she wanted to down sample her data.
Yep.
Process all her data, and then she wanted to do a few steps at the end. She wasn't looking to try to do a fully automated process, which you probably could do now.
And I think she's using like a QHY 600 camera because I think she can down process it in the camera. I think she could.
I don't know if it was QHY she's got, or she may have one of the ASI full frame ones.
Yeah.
If you look at her YouTube channel, it says from raw to finish with 0 clicks. I mean, that's kind of what caught my eye. Was it? If you program it right, you come out with a finished product or near finished product.
Yeah, that's what she was trying to get to, a point where now she can do a little bit afterwards, kind of do a lot of tweaks and stuff at the end. I mean, so if you look at all the steps you do on every photo you have, so if you can look at, okay, I'm going to do this. Well, I wish I can. I wish I can downsample at this point here. Well, that's what she wrote the JavaScript for, to be able to, call it, get into these little tags.
So she's basically batch scripting the stuff she does every time. She's just putting it all into a batch script.
Yeah, I've done all that, but I've done it before WBPP. So what makes this nice is it throws it all in one process.
Right. So now you don't have to worry about trying to do it beforehand. I mean, you can have WBPP do it for you now. And then, so she was looking at downsampling. Then she wanted to do some stuff at the end to basically see if the data was worth it.
Downsampling. Why would anybody downsample?
Well, because she, from what she was saying in her video, she's like limited on space, hard drive space and stuff like that. So if you've got several hundred 100 meg files, that's a lot of space that's taken up. But when you downsample,
that's a lot of data you're losing, though. If you
yeah. But she downsamples to a lot smaller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her little Mac. I think she's in Mac. Yeah. That's you go talk to her about that. I don't know.
Merrill actually has to go through that trick sometimes. He and I have talked quite a bit about this. With he's got a full frame and he crops.
Yeah, that's why I get the center section.
Yeah. So he grabs the center of it, and but what I would do, I mean, I want all that data. I'll just buy another hard drive. They're so cheap.
Yeah, when we did that Horsehead Nebula, you should when I ran it through WBP, it took all night. As in, I started at like 8 o'clock at night, and it didn't finish till like 10 the next morning.
Right, it's a lot of data.
You should have seen the gigabytes and gigabytes of stuff I finally took off. But that's what I did. I bought NVMe drives on top of NVMe drives. And,
but when she did that, her resampling that one little spot, I'm going, what else? So I just started thinking, I wasn't worried about trying. I actually tried to do the background extraction in a certain spot, and it came out horrible. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
But I thought about the BlurX doing a correct only on the stars, which you might be. I'm going to go back and just do a default BlurX. So it'll, try to do a correct only and then a default BlurX right after that before it does the registration and everything. Maybe I can save a few extra frames or not. Kind of squeak a few more in there.
Well, I have. I went through WBPP and I saw all these rejections and I looked at it. It looked fine. And I zoom in there and they're a little more oval than you want. Yeah. So that's why.
The little eggy, and that'll get all fixed with the BlurX. And
So
then,
I ran it through BlurX and all the ones I felt like it could correct, and I got an extra 100 frames.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I figured do some post processing at the end, basically, because it doesn't take your original master files; it still creates those like WBP will. And so those are still only thing those will have in it is anything you've done in the pipeline itself, not the post processing end part. It creates a whole set of masters for the post processing end. So that's why you saw the list or the little photos here. So the first left one was the original with only 6. One in the middle was the one that had recovered some of them. So that was the correct only master here. And then the BlurX and NoiseX and the sharpening is this one down here at the bottom right corner. So that's a separate master file compared to the middle one. So you have you had the 2 folders there.
No, you
so
didn't noise. You didn't noise every frame. Did that process NoiseX every frame?
Yeah. And well, the thing about this, just since you're at post processing in, I did the drizzle and the regular. So you only have 2 pictures. So that's why you shows here. There's 2 active. So it's basically taking the masters that got created, does a BlurX, a NoiseX, and a BlurX on it, and it puts it in this on post process in folder. So here's your original masters that have the correct only in it. All the correct only registration files are right there. So in a master, those get added in, but then anything you did post processing afterwards, it creates its post process in folder and it puts a set of masters in there that everything is done to it. So that's why you can compare the 2 separate things.
I like that. I like that you can do that because Brent and I were talking a while back. I don't know if Brent remembers. I thought about noise Xing every frame before before the stack even.
Yeah, you can do that.
And then he and I were saying, part of the way the stack works is the difference, how the frames are different. That's how it builds the data. Like if we were to stack everything that was exact same data, we would get no results.
Right.
The algorithms and all that, they compare it to the stack below it, and it takes that stuff that's different and does something with it. So I tried it. So I tried doing it, and it didn't work for me. I tried noise Xing everything, and it did better without that, just doing the noise X at the very end, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think one example could be if you split your channels out to RGB. A lot of times the blue channel is really noisy compared to the other 2. You might be able to do a noise X on the blue channel only,
right?
Then recombine them afterwards. You might be able to do something like that. But
there you go.
But I just figured let me try the blur stream there correct only, see what I can recover. So recovered quite a few more compared instead of having 30 of them fail, 31 fail. Now I only had 21, so I got 10 of them back.
Do you remember your rejection algorithm in WBPP? Was it default or?
I think it's a default. Where you go in and specify the quality, you have just do the max best quality in Pixinsight when you actually run the script.
Yeah, it's not my preferred was I forget, general studentized, whatever.
Extreme, yeah.
Yeah, so I go down here to the maximum speed or quality. I have this set to max quality with no compromise.
Yeah, that's what I like to do that as well.
Yep, that's the one.
And I used to do it. Sometimes I'll just do fast with lower quality because I just want to see what my data looks like. Sometimes I'll just stack it in Deep Sky Stacker and let it pop out and just look at it and stretch a little bit and just see what the data looks like. Is it going to be looking good or what? And then I'll come over here. I might do a fast with lower quality on a small subset of frames. And when I do a full stack, it's usually going to max quality with no compromise. Right. And that's why sometimes I'll get a lot of rejections out And I'm like, I don't like that. But
Yeah, if you go to post calibration frame, I found that fast mode there at the drizzle configuration. I stacked about 500 images both ways.
Yeah.
And I could not tell the difference.
yeah, this
So-
one's right here is default fast
Yeah,
mode. And
so I really like that fast mode, but the others, I can see some issues.
yeah, the fast integration, when you do that, I mean, it skips quite a few steps. And I think if you want a better quality image, you want to leave those steps in there. So you'll
No,
leave
I don't
that
think
alone.
they choose the correct rejection algorithms when you do that. They do the one that's fast instead of the one that's, the highest quality.
Well, could you look at, because like local normalization and the LN reference frame, I don't think get run if you do a fast integration.
Right. LN shuts down.
Yeah, so you just, it takes all that. So now there's only 7 steps
Yeah, it does speed it up. But
compared to,
when you extract your backgrounds, that you see the difference.
yep. So when I do a full stack of everything and I want the best, I won't do fast integration on the frames. Even on the dither or in the drizzle, a lot of times I won't even do. I'll leave it the way it is, the default. I won't do the fast on those, but I might try what you were doing since you said.
Yeah, I give it a thorough. I was surprised by it. I thought I was going to be disappointed, but now I hit that button every time now. All right.
Okay. Any other questions before we go on to the next topic?
There's only 59.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, it was
59 went through pretty quick though, because when you
very, very thorough, like usual.
Question. So, which laptop do you use for all this work? I mean, this laptop obviously has to have a lot of RAM to be able to handle all this this huge amount of data.
I got 3 systems running with Pixinsight. Actually, I got 5, but I need to use 3. The one here, which you can see I'm pointing to, which you can't tell because it's actually, this is my 7910. It's a workstation. It's got 128 gig of RAM and it's got 2 10-core Xeons in it. So it gives me 20 cores. Hyper-threading gives me 40 threads. So there's basically 40 cores chewing away at data. And I've got 4 1 terabyte NVMe drives in there to have it for the cache, and it just chews away and goes. My new desktop down here is a 5820, which has got 1 10-core newer Xeon processor, and it's only got 64 gig. I've got a HP laptop downstairs, it's my ZBook, and it's got a Core i7, but it's a 8th generation one, I believe. And it's got 64 gig of RAM as well. And I've got a 512 boot up drive in, and I've got a 1 terabyte NVMe drive in there. So, and I've actually, when I was doing my M101, which is the 600 something frames, my laptop downstairs crashed it out because I ran a memory. So I had to put it on the big guy over here, and he got up to 115 gig used out of 128. That's the most I've ever used memory-wise on a stack so far.
Have you ever run it to the benchmark on the Pixinsight?
Yeah.
What was it? What did the benchmark at?
I don't think I'll do it again, but it's my new one here, since it's a single process, is really close to that. I mean, since it's older, I mean, it's several years old, but it does pretty good.
Okay.
I can bring that part to going somewhere else.
Meryl, isn't there like a benchmark in Pixinsight?
Yeah. Just go.
So, Sunita, do you have Pixinsight? Yeah.
I have the trial version.
Okay.
It's still got it.
It's on.
So-
It's on. Yeah, script in it.
They're showing you like that data. The people who agree to share that, which most everybody, is showing you, okay, these processors are the one that are doing the best with our software, which is kind of a handy thing they're doing for us.
So that information is there within Pixinsight. So
It's within Pixinsight, isn't it, John? It's
Yes.
like-
Yes. It also gives you examples of what different component mixtures or setups that you can choose.
Yes, it's getting ready to spit it out here on the new desktop here I'm running.
okay.
Oh, you're doing a benchmark?
Yep.
There it is. So the total is 13,169, CPU's 12,651, swap file 1645, 468, and the transfer is almost 3 gig per second. That's the NVMe drives. You got a little bit. And there's only Gen 3 ones. They're not even the newer Gen 4s.
They used to have that ranked. I mean, I haven't done it for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think when you hang on a
Yeah, you
second.
can upload it. That submit button right there. Hit submit, and then you can go to the page and see where you're. It
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
a couple days for your system to.
Oh no,
show
mine would
up.
be timed probably at the lower end by now, so you don't have the fastest processor.
Now, is Pixinsight using GPU cores yet?
Yeah.
I know it was.
Some on some processes.
If you yeah, some certain processes will enable the CUDA cores. It mainly just uses the NVIDIA.
Right, NVIDIA is the only one with CUDA cores, but
Yeah.
you got to have
But
an
I've
NVIDIA GPU. But I
I've
thought that
seen
was starting to
where
be enabled.
I've seen where in Linux that they've been able to get the AMD ones to work with their streaming cores with certain processes too. But I don't. I mean,
You mean
this
with the
one's got a
AMD GPU, right?
yeah, yeah, AMD video card the whole works. Whereas the workstation I have here behind me, that's only got it's got an M2000 Quadro card in there, and my other one down here's got a T1000, and I got a P1000 in my laptop downstairs. So this guy here, which is my 40 core sitting over here, it's got 13796, so it's a little bit faster total wise. CPU is 13462, which is slightly faster than my other desktop here, and the swap file is 15695, which is a little bit slower, and it comes out to about 2.8 gig per second on the transfers per megabytes per second. So they're actually pretty evenly matched for two physical CPUs with 20 cores, 40 threads compared to one CPU that's 10 core and 20 threads. It's just that this is like 2.4 gigahertz, and I think up to 2.6 or 8 on you really beat it to death. And I think a 3 point something down here in the other one I got.
How much does this cost?
This one, I bought this one for about $900.
You're pointing at the Heart
just-
Nebula. You bought the Heart Nebula for how much?
Yeah, well, no, it might as well be because, but yeah, my workstation behind me is that was like $900. I bought that like 4 years ago. A friend of mine had the 5820. I bought it from him for $50, and I just so it's the only thing I added to it was a 1 terabyte SSD, and he had one of the Asus Hyper-V cards in it that gives you the 4 NVMe slots. So I put my 2 NVMe drives off my old box in there, and then I've got the added the 1 terabyte SSD to boot off of, because this has got like a SSD 1 terabyte SSD to boot off on.
So did you say
And then my
900?
laptop.
Did you say $900?
Yeah, this was like a little $900 for this one.
Yeah.
And I paid like $50 for the one I got from a friend of mine for the newer 58.
So if you're doing
820.
serious crunching a full frame, you probably should be thinking $1,000.
If I was gonna look at, yeah, I'd probably add another 128 gig of RAM to this one. It's only got 128. I'd probably go to 256 on that. I'd probably go 256, which I'm slow to go to on my other one down here. I'd probably get faster processors for both. I might have to lower the core count to get faster processors on the 7810 here. And then it only has PCI Express 3.0 in it, so I can't really update the NVMe. But if I was going to build a new one, I'd get a newer workstation with PCI Express 4.0 in it to go NVMe for the version 4 NVMe drives. I'd get the processor and get as fast as it can. I wouldn't worry about having a massive core count, though it does help. But the faster processor speed will actually help with the lesser core count, because sometimes it's hard to find a 18 core processor that all cores run at 3 or 4 gigahertz. You might only find them running at 2 gigahertz, but if you run a 8 or 12 core processor, you might find that running at 3.2 gigahertz. That's probably somewhere in that range. But yeah, max memory out, get as fast as hard drives you can get. And then I would look at one of the NVIDIA RTX 3000 series or higher. That's going to be either PCI Express 4.0 that has 2,000 or 3,000 CUDA cores, and that's going to give you where you can do like 2 or 3 seconds on each image instead of like a minute or a minute and a half. Because I think my T1000 does them on like maybe a minute per image.
Wow.
As it goes through, instead of like something that might do it in like in 20 seconds or 10 seconds.
Do you think you'll be able to put a few links to these things on the Slack channel?
For what, the image, the workstation stuff, or the presentation.
I mean the laptop stuff or the workstation stuff.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, that's basically just search Amazon and to look at Dell. I prefer the Dell's. It's a server class hardware, but it's very quiet. You know, the fan might ramp up some, and I'm really beating all 40 cores at 100%. I can hear the fans in it, but it's not like it's overbearing loud like mine. I have a couple servers over here I don't even use anymore that they get way too loud.
You need a budget for some hard drives too, Sunita, because I have 3 backups of everything, and I've lost a hard drive, and I had 2 backups, so I was good to go. And then I bought another hard drive to get that back into the back. So you got to think of your hard drive, and John is right. Memory is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I've got my download box over there, which I do Plex off of it, download everything from that, and that's also my main file server. And I've got 8 5 terabyte drives in there, so I got about 26 terabytes of storage
That's
stuck over
not
there.
bad. Not bad at all. Okay.
Okay. Well, okay. We need to move on for the next topic because Sunita's been waiting for this for a long time.
Mhm.
So, let's switch over to John. As always, this is good. It creates so much conversation. It's really slick. Taking solar imaging. We've been putting this off for a couple months, and you have an interest in that, don't you, Sunita?
Yes.
So ask away.
Sunita's going to the total eclipse, everybody, in Spain.
That's right.
So she's getting ready for that.
I already have my hotel booked. I haven't yet booked my flights just because you have to wait a year, right? You can't do it more than a year. But anybody have a hope that they're able to look into?
You're breaking up on my end anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't hear that, Sunita.
So does anybody have a lunt scope that I'd be able to look into? Does anybody from the Memphis Astronomical Society have a 50, 60, 80 millimeter lunt scope?
I have the 50,
You have a 50?
and I believe Freddie also has a 50.
Yeah.
I love Mylan's 50. It's beautiful stuff.
Do you think I'll be able to come and have a look at it on cloudy days?
You're breaking up a lot.
Do you think I'd be able to come and look through it on a non-cloudy day?
we need a non-cloudy day.
If they exist, do non-cloudy days exist? That's the question. That's Sunita. That is.
Our next thing on top of Beale Street Landing, if it's not cloudy or rainy, is the 28th. So that's a Saturday. I forget the time. It's on the calendar.
That's in your neck of the woods, Sunita. So that's good.
I have one at Rhodes, and you can come by any day during the week when it's clear, and we can get it out.
That would be great. What is the size of your scope at Rhodes?
It's I think it's the same one Freddie has. Is that a 50?
Yeah.
You should also, Sunita, consider what Brent has, which is it's kind of like an eyepiece that he uses with his regular telescope. And what is that, Brent?
It's the cork.
Daystar.
Yeah, the Daystar cork. The problem with it, so depending on what you want to do with it, if you want to get the full disc when you go, it's a lot trickier to do that. I think there's a version of it that does not have the Barlow, but mine has a 4x Barlow built into it. So I can't get full disc with any of the scopes that I have. I have to do at least a 4-frame mosaic, maybe, if I wanted to do that.
Right, and you also have to wait every time you adjust it. You have to wait for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, I think it's closer to 5, but yeah, there is that time you have to wait for it to settle. I don't usually mess with the setting much, so I don't really have to. I don't think you have to do it all the time. But yeah, there's that cool down period. So, but it's really good if you want to do just general imaging. It's again potentially better because I guess the lunts aren't super deep right? I mean, they're generally for full disk, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, if you really want to focus in on some of the sunspots and prominences, it's probably a better value, better deal.
But
Yeah,
if you're doing an eclipse, Brent, wouldn't you think a lunt might be a little bit better to get that full?
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know that the Quark would be beneficial if you're wanting to image in HA for the full eclipse.
Right. And that's guess what's on Sunita's mind right now?
Yes, I also want to go for the annular one. I think it's going to be in Argentina and maybe a small part of Africa. So that in Feb 2026 or 2027. I think Feb 2027 is the annular one.
Okay.
And so for that, I think the whole disk would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't need to switch out. Whereas for a regular eclipse, you need the white light because otherwise you won't be able to see the corona.
Yeah, that's true. Once you take the cover off, you'll want the regular camera.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think let's see, I guess Rick leave, yeah, because Rick had two up when he was doing it. If I'm not mistaken, he had one running in HA, but again, that the main one that did not.
So you need.
Are you looking at? Have you been looking at the kind of the software and how you want to do that capture yet?
So I've only heard about SharpCap and IMPGG.
Yeah, that's what I used. Do you know what kind of camera you're planning to use at this point?
It would depend on the scope, right? So it would depend on the pixel size, and you got to match the camera with the seeing and the.
Yeah. But will it be like an Astro camera or won't be a DSLR?
Be an Astro camera. So I was going to either get the 585 sensor or the 174 with smaller pixels, so you can get more resolution.
Yeah. So I've got there's software, like if you use DSLR, there's software that's ready made for it. But if you're going to use SharpCap, I've got exactly what I did saved for the previous, so the sequence that you set up. And I could certainly share that. Now you can modify all the timestamps for obviously what it's going to be. It looks more daunting than it actually ended up being. It actually ended up being super easy and worked really, really well. So I definitely would advocate for SharpCap when you're ready to use it. And you can do a lot of practice on it with just the regular sun, or it doesn't even matter what you're pointing at. You can practice and see, do the timestamps line up with what you want them to be.
And do you take a video or do you just stack multiple images like Astro?
For the clips, I did multiple single captures and then put them back together in a time lapse, which created the video. I think that's probably what's recommended. I don't know if well, it would be, because you have to change the exposure and the gain so rapidly. You're not going to be able to handle that on video. But there's a good app on the phone that will tell you exactly kind of the points to do everything, and then you can adjust the times in the script. But it worked out really well. Basically, I was able to start it. It ran through the entire as it was getting covered up, and then it ran through a bracketing sequence while the eclipse was occurring. And I ended up with probably, I don't know, maybe 3,000 captures during that kind of time frame. but I was able to get exactly the points that I want. You'll be able to do the same. So I think that's the way that I would recommend going at this point.
What camera did you use, Brent? What camera did
I
you
used the ASI 071.
Okay, yeah. That's a planetary camera, right?
No,
Oh, no.
that was
Yeah,
that was the
that
deep
one's
space
cool.
one.
Yeah, okay. So you ended up using that one.
Yeah.
You certainly
Yeah,
don't
I
need
think-
to cool it.
Yeah, I think that was their
Didn't-
first APS-C sensor size. I think was that one, 071.
Right.
Yeah. So the ones you mentioned, I think, would be good. They'd perform better than the one that I used at the time, but it worked really, really well. I'd been debating getting a higher end DSLR just for it, but I ended up not, and I think it worked out great.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think initially I just want to learn the software and just to take pictures of the regular sun in hydrogen alpha, and then talk about the sequence and other stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Make
yeah.
sure
I
you're
got started. Oh, go ahead, Milo. Sorry.
just make sure you're shooting mono. If you're doing especially hydrogen alpha, but solar in general, you want to go with a mono camera.
Yes. Yes.
Is my screen coming across?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was the sequence that I used. And again, I can share this exact file so you can see what it looks like. But it basically, the front end of it is telling the camera what settings to use. And then it's just kind of going through, and some of these are a loop. And you can kind of see what those loops were. But you basically define the different time areas that you want to capture, and then you would adjust. You could see in my script, so at exactly 1:54:47 is when you're going to start this loop, and then at 1:54:54 you're going to start this loop. So you kind of want to do the same thing. You'll have, again, based on where you are, it'll tell you exactly when all these milestones are, and then you can kind of adjust this same script to achieve that.
Was this in SharpCap?
Yeah, this is SharpCap.
Okay.
Let's see, go back. And it's just a little designer sequence. So you can kind of see in this one, it just goes through in order. So it's just a linear sequence of exactly what you want it to do. You just have to tell it exactly when to do which loops and which exposures. And then the bracketing during totality, which looks like, let me go back forward again, which looks like this part.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're just looping through all of those different exposures really fast to just capture different, different views at different points. So, and then you can HDR, put that all back together later, which that's what this one ended up looking like for me at the time.
Excellent.
Wow.
But
It's really-
the timing works out really great. Let's see. This one was, I think this one was my favorite out of all of them, actually, with the beads and the way it turned out.
Beautiful.
But yeah, like I said, the script looks a little bit daunting, but it actually ended up being way easier than I thought it would be. And there will be a lot of online communities that'll be talking about this exact same thing. So I can share this and you can get started with it. Somebody else may already do all the work too, that you could probably just copy and paste right off of them too.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, Brent, are you saying it's probably worked out in the community for SharkCap for that eclipse that's coming up in Spain?
I would suspect that there are examples of this.
Mhm.
Now, because you do have to account for your exact location. So the concept is probably done, but you're still going to have to go in and modify it. Just whoever else is imaging is probably not going to be in the same place you are. But it should at least tell you here's what it should look like.
Yeah.
Some of these things too may be different based on your camera as well. So like I've got the different gain and exposure set for what the 071 was. It's possible that depending on what camera you pick, it might have recommendations of different exposures and gains as well.
I did put in the Slack channel underneath the equipment. I give you a couple examples of workstations you can take a look at from Amazon. I mean, these are refurb boxes, and I guess, you know, these brand new at the time when I think when they first came out, like 12, 15 grand. Now like one's 500, the was like 700, 800 or something like that. Yeah, ideas. And Mylan just put in a thing, cameras for solar. He's got like a YouTube channel there. He stuck in there from the AZ Astro guy.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing that I can tell you, by the way, for the Eclipse, the number one advice, and I think Freddie's the one that told me this. There is a mobile app that basically will say out loud, make sure you have that. That was an amazing thing to have.
Right. I mean, I used that for the last Eclipse.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helped me know exactly when things were going on. Everything happens. Like everything will happen so fast. It'll feel like it takes no time at all, but it'll feel super long all the same. So it helped me kind of keep my mind where it needed to be.
I mean, it's called the Eclipse Timer by
That's
Fred.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you get the flat moon in the picture too.
Yeah, I ended up buying that app, but didn't even use it since I was paying attention to my laptop.
All right. Ready to move on to one final topic before we close tonight? So did you get all you needed to know? Great. Okay, real quickly, did everybody see the email that Steve sent out about the Rising Star Astronomy Grant?
Yes.
Anybody have questions on that? Well, you got Steve and I were the ones that kind of created that. So if there's anything that you would like to ask about it, now's the time. It may be very self-explanatory. Okay, that was easy. Yeah, the objective is that we have some money that in our treasury that we wanted to share and help some folks to get started in this business, if you will. And there's an opportunity to do so.
That's really great.
So, yeah, all right. Great presentation, John and Steve. Yvonne's. I thought she was going to come prepared with the slides, but you did a great job on that.
Yeah, it turned out great, didn't it?
Good conversation.
I was the one who gave her the high-res file, so I had everything.
For some reason, I thought she was going to brag about her shop.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I told her. I just said, "Hey, this is loosey goosey. You can be chill here. Don't knock yourself out. We're just regular people." And maybe I communicated to be too loose, but
once she sends over the list of what's left, obviously, we could share amongst ourselves, but potentially she could post it out there on the Facebook Memphis Astro group. There's a big group out there. There might be some takers that maybe didn't realize what was going on or might be interested.
I'll give it a shot, and I wish somebody knew how to use Instagram, because that would be particularly good medium for that.
It seemed to me what I thought I saw prices on the wall that Brent you took, it seemed like they were really high priced.
It's metal prints.
Yeah, it's high, but they looked impressive. Like, I mean, it was something to see in person. So that they were very high end.
Wow.
They had a kind of iridescent quality too, which was cool.
Yeah,
and
I really like that.
The ghost of Cassiopeia, there was a certain angle if you're across the room that it looked like it was glowing.
Really?
Like,
wow.
Actively glowing, but it was really a reflection.
And she did a lot of work on this thing. She printed out a similar that we did for the our friends at
Theater Memphis.
Memphis.
Yeah.
And she looked at him. She says, "You know what? I need to kick this up a notch, Steve. This is just not me, you know." So, so then she took it to another level.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just looked up, I remembered posting because Brent asked if any other pieces had sold. The Ghost of Cassiopeia was actually selected by the person who won the raffle. And the other one that sold was the Merrill's Dumbbell Nebula.
Oh, the dumbbell. Yeah,
And
I love that.
Really?
That's one of Merrill's oldest pieces of work there. That's
I
great.
did that many years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the person who bought it was excited about it.
well,
he
that's
really
all that
liked it.
matters. That's all that matters. Okay. Anything else before we close tonight?
I just posted the PDF over in the Pixinsight spot of our Slack channel.
Well, I you know, that you give us some things to think about on that. That might be a good way to save the data, right, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to be all over that, John.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this. That's good stuff.
Good stuff. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. You all have a good night, and I'll stop.